I'm Young Buzz. Welcome back to the channel where we dive into the world of K-pop, idols, and the stories that make them more than just performers on stage. Today, we're going to talk about someone who has such an interesting journey and honestly, one of the most lovable personalities in the industry, DK from 17, or as many fans know him, Dokyeom. Now, if you've been following 17, you already know how unique each member is, but DK really stands out in so many ways. He's not just the main vocalist with an incredible range, he's also that person who lights up the room, the mood maker, the one who makes everyone laugh, even when times are tough. But at the same time, behind that bright smile, DK has gone through struggles that shaped him into the person he is today. And I think that's why fans connect to him so deeply. Let's start with some basics. DK's real name is Lee Seokmin, and he was born on February 18, 1997, in Suji-gu, Yongin-si, Gyeonggi-do, South Korea. He's actually on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces, which might explain a lot about his personality. If you believe in zodiac signs, you'll know that cusp signs usually have traits of both. Aquarius is often described as creative and independent, while Pisces is sensitive, emotional, and empathetic. And honestly, when I think of DK, that combination makes so much sense. He's lively, full of jokes, but also really thoughtful and caring towards others. One of the things I really admire about DK is how his journey to becoming an idol wasn't easy. When he first joined Pledis, he admitted he felt scared and lonely. Imagine being a trainee, away from your comfort zone, surrounded by so much uncertainty. But despite that, he's actually the member who got along with everyone the fastest. That tells you something about his personality. He's approachable, he's warm, and people just naturally gravitate toward him. He trained for about 2 years and 7 months, and during that time, he really developed not just his singing skills, but also his confidence. What sparked his dream of becoming a singer was watching Yoon Do-hyun perform back in middle school. DK was amazed by the way Yoon Do-hyun connected with fans, how he shared his energy and passion on stage. And that inspiration eventually became his own mission as an artist, to give people hope and lift their spirits. But here's where it gets even more interesting. DK wasn't always the confident, smiling idol we see today. When he was younger, he actually struggled with being bullied for his weight. He talked about this on Sakura Radio, and it was such a vulnerable moment for him to share. He said that words hurt him deeply, and that he went through a lot alone because he didn't want to burden anyone else. Can you imagine how tough that must have been? And yet, instead of letting that break him, DK used those hardships as motivation to work harder and become the artist he is today. Personally, I find that incredibly inspiring, and it's something I think a lot of people, whether you're a fan of K-pop or not, can relate to. I want to pause here and ask you guys, have you ever had someone's words stick with you, either in a negative or positive way? Because DK's story reminds me that words really do carry weight. And sometimes, the way we speak to people can either build them up or break them down. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had an experience like that. I'd love to read your stories. Now back to some lighter DK facts that I think are just too fun not to share. First of all, his nicknames are hilarious. He's been called Mr. Hat, Rockstar, Docu-T, and my personal favorite, Internal Voice. And why? Because when he's practicing his singing, he can get really loud, and it literally sounds like a speaker. I can just imagine the other members teasing him about it, but honestly, that just shows how passionate he is about music. Speaking of music, DK has always loved rock bands. He was even part of a rock band in middle school. And I think that rock influence explains the kind of raw, powerful energy he brings to 17's performances. Like if you've ever watched him perform live, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. He doesn't just sing, he delivers. There's a difference. He pours his emotions into every note, and that's why fans feel so connected to him. And fun fact, Vernon, Sungkwan, and Joshua think DK is the funniest member of 17. Honestly, I can see why. He has that natural sense of humor, the kind that doesn't feel forced. He just says or does something and people can't help but laugh. But what I find beautiful is that behind that humor, he's also really sensitive. He genuinely cares about how others feel, and that balance is what makes him so special. Another thing I found really relatable is his food preferences. He loves pizza and doenjang jjigae, which is this really comforting Korean soybean paste stew, but he absolutely hates eggplants and cucumbers because of the smell. And I have to say, I get it. Cucumbers especially have such a strong scent, and not everyone can handle it. Let me know if you guys agree with DK on this one, or if you actually love cucumbers and think he's totally missing out. Oh, and here's something really sweet. DK's favorite number is 17, which is of course a nod to his group. It just shows how much pride and love he has for 17. And honestly, it makes me smile to see how connected he is to his team. He's also part of the vocal team and the subunit Seokmin, where he's the leader. And if you've ever seen Seokmin perform, you'll know they're all about fun, energy, and making people laugh. DK as the leader just feels so fitting because he naturally embodies those qualities. Now here's a detail that really stood out to me. The meaning behind his real name, Seokmin. Seok means big, and Min means precious gemstone. So basically, his name means to be a big existence like a precious gem. And honestly, I think that perfectly describes who DK is. He's someone who shines, someone who stands out not because he tries too hard, but because he's genuinely precious in the way he touches people's lives. And speaking of precious, this part always cracks me up. DK once admitted he's afraid of ladybugs. Yes, you heard that right, ladybugs. Apparently, it comes from a nightmare he had when he was younger. And it's funny, but at the same time, it just shows his more childlike and vulnerable side, which makes him even more relatable. I'm curious, what about you guys? Do you have any weird or unexpected fears like that? Because I'll be honest, when I was younger, I was terrified of balloons popping. Totally random, I know, but fears like that stick with us. So I'm wondering if you can relate to DK on this one. Another thing that I think really defines DK is how much he values positivity. He once shared that his dad used to tell him, "You should become a positive person who is considerate of others." And honestly, I think he really took that advice to heart. Whenever he feels down, he doesn't just let himself spiral. Instead, he does simple things like eating delicious food to regain happiness. That might sound small, but it's actually such a powerful reminder that sometimes joy comes from the little things. I feel like that's why DK is so good at spreading positive energy, because he's learned how to find it for himself first. And it's not just about being positive. DK also has this strong passion for the things he loves. He admitted that sometimes he can even get greedy when he sings because he wants to give his all. I think that's something fans can definitely see. Whenever he's on stage, it's not just another performance to him. It's like he's giving a piece of himself every time, and that's what makes him unforgettable. Outside of music, DK is also into movies. He loves going to the cinema, but he also enjoys watching at home. He has a wide taste in genres, but he's a huge fan of Haikyuu and One Piece. And honestly, that tracks. Both of those are about perseverance, teamwork, and chasing your dreams, which feels very DK if you ask me. It makes me wonder, do you guys also feel like your favorite shows or anime reflect your personality in some way? Because in DK's case, it feels like a perfect match. And I think his style also says a lot about him. He likes clean, refreshing clothes, nothing too baggy, but not overly tight either. He gravitates toward colors like black, blue, or red. And sometimes he even goes for flashy looks. It's kind of cool because it shows he's not afraid to experiment and express himself, but he still keeps that neat and stylish image. Now let's talk about DK's laugh. If you've seen him laugh, and I know most of you have, you'll know what I mean when I say it's iconic. The corners of his eyes wrinkle up, his mouth opens wide, and you can just feel the joy radiating off of him. It's one of those contagious laughs where even if you're not in on the joke, you end up smiling or laughing along. That's such a rare trait, and I think it's part of why fans feel so close to him. Something else worth mentioning is his musical achievements outside of 17. He sang the OST for the drama The Great Seducer with the song I'm First, which was absolutely beautiful. And in 2019, he starred in the musical Excalibur. That shows not only his vocal talent, but also his ability to adapt to different kinds of performance. It takes a lot to stand on a musical stage and carry that kind of presence, and DK pulled it off so well. And here's a fun connection. DK actually went to the same school as NCT's Jaehyun, but what's funny is that he once admitted in a radio interview that he didn't dare to speak to Jaehyun back then because Jaehyun was too handsome. Like, imagine being in the same school as Jaehyun and just thinking, nope, I can't talk to him. Honestly, that's so relatable. We've all had that one person who seemed so perfect or intimidating that we couldn't even start a conversation. Oh, and speaking of friends, DK is part of the legendary 97 liner group chat. You know the one: Bam Bam, Yugyeom, Jungkook, The 8, Mingyu, Jaehyun, Eunwoo, and of course, DK himself. That's like the ultimate friend squad. Just imagine the kind of conversations that happen in that chat. I bet it's chaotic, but also full of support. Now, when it comes to relationships, DK once shared that he prefers dating someone older because he feels like he needs someone who can take care of him. That little detail actually says a lot about his personality. Even though he's the mood maker, he's also someone who appreciates comfort and stability from the people close to him. His ideal type is a girl with long dark hair, aegyo, and long slender legs. Pretty specific, but also very DK in how he describes it. One last fact I really want to highlight is how DK ranks first in male idols you'd like to be your sunbae. That's such a huge compliment because it means people see him as approachable, supportive, and someone you'd want to look up to. And honestly, after learning about his journey, his hardships, and his dedication, it makes perfect sense. So at the end of the day, what makes DK so special isn't just his incredible vocals, or his humor, or even his positivity. It's the way all of these things come together in one person. He's someone who went through struggles, but turned them into strength. He's someone who lifts up others while still being vulnerable enough to admit his own fears. He's someone who makes you laugh, but also makes you think deeply. That's what makes him unforgettable. But now I want to hear from you guys. What is it about DK that inspires you the most? Is it his voice, his personality, his story, or maybe just the way he makes you smile when you watch him? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them because I know DK has touched fans in so many different ways. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed this deep dive into DK's story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this video with your fellow carrots. Thank you for spending your time with me here on Anyang Buzz. Until next time, stay positive, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next video.